Welcome to Nugget 276 with Steve and Dana Groman, and this is our last nugget on the Bristlecone Pines. We will be finishing up at the ancient Bristlecone Pine Forest near Big Pine, California. I want to encourage you to go back and watch Nuggets 271 through 275 when we took you to some beautiful bristlecone pine groves in Utah and Nevada. Helpful information about your visit. The road into Schulman Grove is usually open from mid-May through sometime in November. Conditions vary greatly with snow, pack, and weather. The visitor center is staffed 7 days a week from mid-June through the end of September, with reduced staffing in May and October. You will want to call ahead for current road conditions. Outstanding vistas and or especially photogenic trees are located at Sierra Viewpoint, Schulman Grove, Methuselah Grove, Patriarch Grove, and the grove of trees along the road 4 miles north of Schulman Grove. And we have taken you to almost all of those in the past nugget, and in this nugget we will be taking you specifically to the Patriarch Grove and the Methuselah Grove. The Schulman Grove has 3 trails. In the previous nugget, we took you along the 1-mile Discovery Trail. On a second visit, we trudged the lengthier and overall difficult trail to reach Methuselah. This trail is a real bugger. Wear proper shoes. We didn't. Well, 2 of the 3 of us didn't. And we got kind of worn out. Growing above 10,000 feet elevation, the oldest known living tree, just over 4,725 years old, survives along the knee-pounding 4.5-mile hike. The grove is named for Dr. Edmund Schulman, who did extensive research on bristlecone pines. He named Methuselah after the oldest man in the Bible. Methuselah's identity is not publicized. A ranger might tell you its general direction. Otherwise, too many people would mar or disturb the tree in some fashion to get a souvenir. Find a photograph of it somewhere and see if you can pick it out among the trees near the ravine where it grows. Standing as ancient sentinels high atop the white mountains of the Inyo National Forest, the Great Basin bristlecone pines rank as the oldest trees in the world, having achieved immense scientific, cultural, and scenic importance. While the oldest trees are found in the mountains of eastern California, Great Basin bristlecone pines are scattered throughout the high mountain regions of Nevada and to a lesser extent Utah. A cousin, the Rocky Mountain bristlecone pine, is located through the eastern Rocky Mountain region in Colorado and New Mexico, and we have not seen those. We certainly have that on our to-do list. An isolated population is also located in the mountains near Flagstaff, Arizona. Another thing that we've got to go find. A third member of the bristlecone pine family, the Sierra foxtail pine, is located in the southern Sierra Range and in isolated groves in northern California. In the White Mountains, the ancient bristlecone pines seem to show a preference for growing on the white, rocky soil that gives the name to this mountain range. This is dolomite, a type of limestone created under the warm, shallow sea that once covered this area. It was created after Noah's flood. This dolomite is very alkaline in soil chemistry and thus makes for very challenging growing conditions, precisely why the oldest trees are found here. Other plant species have a very difficult time growing in it, and the bristlecones, because they have adapted to this high alkalinity, have a chance to get established and grow in a near competition-free environment. In other areas, such as the Great Basin National Park in eastern Nevada, bristlecone pines have established themselves on soil types that are equally inhospitable to all but the most hardy of survivors. Every year, trees produce a new layer of wood just under the bark. During a dormant period or time of slower growth, a narrow band of dark wood is produced, which when added to the lighter colored summer growth produces what we see as a distinguishable tree ring. In wet years, the width of this layer of new wood is usually wider than in years of drought. The bristlecone pines are known as great recorders of these climactic variances due to their high sensitivity to changes in annual precipitation. Scientists who study and research tree ring patterns are known as dendrochronologists. They are called dendroclimatologists if they specialize in climate research through tree ring records. Dendrochronology is simply defined as a study of tree rings. Weather patterns, fire history, volcanic events, and event blood cycles can be determined through a detailed analysis of the patterns of tree rings. Leonardo da Vinci is credited with first noticing and documenting tree ring patterns. It was the pioneering work of 2 research scientists during the 20th century that opened up this exciting field of discovery, Dr. Andrew Ellicott Douglas and Dr. Edmund Schulman. You may recall, in Nugget 269, we talked about an article in the Science News June 2022 that was talking about revising Leonardo's rule for how trees branch. And now we're learning that he also got into tree rings. So that is just really quite fascinating. Never knew that about Da Vinci. A.E. Douglas is considered by many to be the founder of modern dendrochronology Dendrochronology. Born in Vermont in 1867 and trained as a mathematician and astronomer, he collected thousands of tree ring samples. Through his persistent research, A.E. Douglas became an expert at tree ring dating and analysis. Ironically, his greatest contribution, however, was a crucial archaeological discovery. And this brochure goes on to talk about that, but I want to skip down to this. Dr. Douglas's astronomy and tree ring research led to the establishment of both the Steward Observatory and the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research on the University of Arizona campus in Tucson, Arizona. He remained active at the Tree Ring Lab well into his 90s and spent over 50 years at the university as an instructor, researcher, Tree Ring Lab director, and even university president. And in Nuggets 89 through 95, we talked about many of the world-famous telescopes and took you to some that we have visited personally, and one being the Steward Observatory. Back in Nugget 274, when we were talking about where you could find slabs of Prometheus, the oldest bristlecone pine ever known that was cut down back in the 60s, we had mentioned that there was a slab at the University of Arizona in Tucson, and now you know why there is a slab of Prometheus at the University of Arizona in Tucson. Edmund Shulman began his career as an assistant to Dr. Douglas at the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research. Dr. Shulman was searching for trees that would break the 3,000-year-old barrier when he took samples from old, weather-beaten, twisted trees along what we now call the Discovery Trail, and that's the trail that we took you on in the previous nugget. Shulman began dating his samples when he soon realized that in addition to breaking the 3,000-year-old barrier, he would surpass the 4,000-year-old mark with hundreds of years to spare. A landmark article written by Dr. Shulman in 1958 and published in the National Geographic magazine introduced the world to the majestic bristlecone pines. We found the National Geographic that had Dr. Shulman's article entitled Bristlecone Pine, Oldest Known Living Thing. And as I was scanning the article, I saw this on the first page. Abraham walked the earth when this tree was thrusting its first tender roots into a rocky crevice 2 miles high and rearing a slender stem. Isn't that tremendous? Isn't that awesome? But what is sad about that is that was over 60 years ago, and I dare say that a research scientist would not be able to make a statement like that in an article. How sad. How far we've fallen in just half of a century in this country. You might want to look up this National Geographic magazine. It's the March 1958 edition and read the full article. It's spectacular, just like the trees. From the Shulman Grove, you'll travel 12 more miles northward to reach the Patriarch Grove. Discovered in 1948, the namesake Patriarch tree, the world's largest bristlecone, is 36 feet in circumference and 1,500 years old. After eating sheep herder bread, delicatessen-style sandwiches, and mouse-shaped cookies washed down with Indian well sodas, we took the 2 relatively short hikes at 11,000 feet in elevation. And the marker says the Patriarch, in memoriam to A.E. Noreen. Al Noreen retired in 1954 as White Mountain District Ranger. After 35 years with the U.S. Forest Service, he discovered the Patriarch in 1948, and in 1951, it was added to the American Forestry Association's list of big trees as the largest bristlecone pine. It was the efforts of this man that eventually brought Edmund Shulman to this area and led to the establishment of a White Mountain natural area and the bristlecone pine forest. Thank you, Mr. A.E. Noreen. We trudged up the Cottonwood Basin Overlook Trail, where our GPS read 11,390 foot elevation. Truly amazing to see these beautiful, gorgeous, fabulous trees. I would encourage people to go travel along U.S. Highway 395 in Eastern California, for the sites there are absolutely incredible, and we've done a lot of nuggets along there. But if you're seeking out bristlecone pines, this would be the place to go. You will find the oldest and the largest. If you appreciate our content, tell others and repost on your social platforms. If you appreciate these videos and can partner with us on a monthly or one-time basis, we would be grateful. The links are in the description below, or you can call 603-616-8907. Thank you.